For 99% of my feeder fishing, whatever distance I'm fishing, I like to use a shock leader, whether that's a little short shocker, if I'm fishing short for roach, even like 10 metres out, or if I'm fishing over 100 metres, big expanses of water like Boddington or somewhere like that. Shock leaders enable you to chuck a long distance. You can use a light main line, heavy shock leader combo, and you're confident in your gear. The last thing you want is to be using a light main line. One, you struggle playing your fish at your feet. You want to have confidence when you're playing your fish at feet, but also when you're chucking out big distances, you want to be confident that your gear's not going to let you down. And if you're using like a 10 or 12 pound shock leader like I like to use, you know you can give your cast full beans. You're not going to crack off. Your mates aren't going to laugh at you. You're not spending loads of time re-tackling. You're fishing effectively, aren't you, for more of your match. So light main line, heavy shock leader, that is the combination. But tying that little tiny shock leader knot that I like to use, a few of us like to use it as well, it can be a little bit fiddly. I'm going to show you that now. It's a 3 or 4 turn water knot. Now you need a little bit of space to tie it. Preferably you do it at home. It's a nice little neat strong knot. It flies through the guides. It doesn't get caught up anywhere on your spool. Like I say, for me, it's all about spending more time in the water rather than tackling up or having mishaps on the bank. I just want everything to work properly. So nice little knot. I've got my preferred line. For a lot of my feeder fishing, this is what I use. Float fishing as well, pellet waggler work, this is what I use. It's Suffix Advance. There is a link below because some people struggle to find this stuff, so I've just found some online and put a link below for you. It's been brilliant for me. I've been using it now for probably 18 months. I think it's great. Sinks really well. I don't think it's the cheapest of lines in the world, but you get what you pay for. It's fantastic. And obviously for me, I'm sometimes fishing really big events. I don't want my main line to let me down. For you guys, it could be a big event. It could be the fish of a lifetime. You don't want your gear to let you down. So I always like to use the best that I possibly can. Now, tying this little shock leader knot. So I've got my line on my reel. Let's, for argument's sake, say it's £5 line and I'm fishing feeder, method feeder at somewhere like Boston. £5 line is what I'll probably be using. And I want to attach my shock leader to it. What I would do is I will give 5 big arm spans of this line, which will give me, because I'm 6 foot, it will give me about 30 feet of line, and I'll peel that all off of the spool. So I will use strong shock leader, minimum sort of £8 line, but most of the time I just go for 10 or 12 pound line. I just don't want it to let me down. So I'll pull all that heavy shock leader off, whatever your preferred material is. No lower than £8 though, and I'll just cut it off. So now we're only going to do short lengths today. Now I've got a big long length, 30 feet of line sitting on my, on my courtyard floor at home or on the bank, as long as it's not going to tangle up anywhere. And I need to attach that to my main line. So let's see, this bit is my main line, this bit is my shock leader. I'm going to lay my shock leader alongside my main line, and this is the simplest knot in the world, but because of the extra length of line can cause a few problems. And all I'm going to do, I've laid them alongside each other, hopefully you can get that there. I'm going to fold them back and I'm going to create that little loop, and then I'm going to pass the tag of my main line and the whole length of that shock leader. So I'm going to be pulling it through. I'll still be pulling it through because it's 30 feet of it. Pull it through, and that's once. And then I'll pass it through twice. Pull it through again, 30 foot of it, 3 times. Now you want to pull them through both at the same time. You don't want to pull the tag through 3 times, then your shock leader knot through 3 times. You're going to have problems. For mono to mono, 3 turns is all you need. If I was doing it to braid, I'd do 4 turns, maybe even 5, because braid has got a habit of slipping. Now, there are stronger knots in the world. Trust me, there are stronger knots, but for match fishing, I think this is as strong as it needs to be. I've never had it break, and it's very, very neat once you've trimmed it down. So you can trim it down really, really tight, pull it down tight. I like to just wet it, pull it down nice and tight, all at the same time again, because what we don't want to do is pull one tag, then another tag. Cut these tags off really, really tight to the knot. I'm going to use my teeth. Now this is 0.25 line, so we'll see how we go. There we go. Cut the other tag off. You'd only have 2 tags to trim off. 0.25 line, still got the teeth. And there we go. We've got the tiny, hopefully you can see that there, tiny little knot. And like I say, it sits on the spool. You barely even notice it's there. The tags are non-existent. I remember days where everyone used to say keep the tag long on your Shockleader knot. People were fishing with like 2-inch long tags on their Shockleader knot. For whatever reason, I'm not too sure, but trimming this knot down is the way to go, trust me. So trim the tags down, nice and neat. You've got a tiny little knot, 30 feet of strong line for you to cast off, so you know that you're not going to have any crack-offs or mishaps. When I'm using short shockers like a metre, this knot has been brilliant. So little short chucks for roach. I just want a nice stiff metre or so of line beneath my braid so I can tie a nice rig to and I don't get any mishaps down and tangles down at the rig end. I've used this knot, it's been brilliant. This brings me on to quiver tips, because using the right quiver tip, obviously you still don't want to be using little tiny guides when you've got a Shockleader. So I know this is putting all the odds in our favour without having any crack-offs, but if you're using the wrong quiver tip, you can still get a few crack-offs. So I've got a couple of examples. This is a quiver tip from my early Shimano days when I was an angler at Shimano, and this is, I think it was probably marketed for one of their distance rods. Thick at the end. It's glass, which glass is I've not got a problem with, but the guides, can you see? Really, really small, tiny. So that little knot I've showed you probably would go through those guides. However, there's going to be an occasion where these guides, because they're so small, it's just going to impede the Shockleader going through. Large guides on your quiver tip are going to give you a better chance of casting bigger distances. Now we're talking about chucking a long way, that not going through the guides, you want large guides. Also, this is a glass quiver tip. Glass quiver tips are fine, but your casting action has to be absolutely spot on, because glass quiver tips, they're bendier, they want to wallow. So when you cast that rod out, that quiver tip, it wants to sort of wallow in the air. That's obviously going to cause a bit of a backlash. The small guides are just going to impede that line, and that's when you get sort of like frap ups, crack offs. You know, you get some problems with that. I don't like to use a glass quiver tip unless I'm bream or skimmer fishing and I'm fishing at shorter range, so maybe up to like 50-60 metres maximum. After that, I'll go for one of these carbon quiver tips, whether that's a solid carbon, which is just a little bit stiffer, just snaps back quicker on the cast, or if I'm fishing for carp or big bream, I'll just use one of these. So I use the Free Spirit High S feeder rods. They're available for those rods. These beauties, they're a hollow. Hopefully you can see the hollow nature of that. They're a hollow carbon quiver tip. They snap back unbelievably fast. Large guides. We've just spoke about how important that is. So large guides, Shockleaders go through it perfectly. Carbon quiver tips aren't as sensitive as those glass quiver tips I've just showed you, but when we're fishing for like carp, the distance, we're not looking for little tiny indications like that. We're looking for that big toe round as that fish tries to head off into the horizon. So hopefully that's helped you out. Shockleader knot, tiny. Loads of people have asked about that knot, so I thought I'd show you it a little bit more detail. But use the right quiver tip, you're not going to have as many mishaps, and you're going to spend more time actually in the water fishing effectively.